I always imagined that my new life would begin with light. With coffee on London streets, with a man who looks not at his phone, but into my eyes. I didn't flee Los Angeles because everything was bad. On the contrary, I had a job, an apartment, friends. But inside, I was empty. Like I was living someone else's life. I wanted something real. A relationship where I didn't have to play a part. Not smile because that's polite, but speak your truth because you're loved. Tom appeared like he was scripted. We met at a book fair, and the first thing he said was, "You're American" or sounds like a challenge. I laughed. His eyes, gray-green, warm, like early spring. He invited me for tea. Not coffee, tea, like a true Brit. And somehow, everything moved fast. Tom wasn't pushy. He didn't rush anything. He was just there. I moved in after 5 months. Yes, it was fast, I know. But with him, everything felt right. He listened when I talked about being tired. Cooked me breakfast. Massaged my shoulders when I cried from homesickness. And at one point, I thought, finally. He's the one. My one. Then came. Her. Mary. His mom. At first, I didn't feel threatened. She FaceTimed, smiled, joked, showed off her cat. "I hope you like fish. Tom's been addicted to my casserole since he was 5. "Oh, you're from the States? Well, that means you love freedom. Let's see how you do with some good old English tradition." It was kind of charming. But each week, her jokes started becoming rules. First, that Tom shouldn't gift me perfume because she's probably allergic, just like I was. Then, that I should work from home, because a woman needs to save energy for the household. Then, that maybe we should get a gray couch, because bright colors overstimulate the nervous system, scientifically proven. I laughed. For a long time. Thought, no way, she can't be serious. But Tom listened. He started repeating her suggestions like they were his. "You know, gray really is cozier. Maybe let's not get those flowers. Mom says they wilt too quickly." We started fighting. Quietly. But I felt it, I was being erased. My opinion, my voice, slowly replaced. But I loved him. And I told myself, this is just a phase. Maybe she's just concerned. Maybe I'm overreacting. I had no idea that this was just the beginning. I didn't notice right away when my voice began to fade. It wasn't like Tom ever directly forbade me from doing anything. No. It was softer. Cleaner. More insidious. He'd simply ask. "Maybe Mom has a point? You don't mind if she helps with the curtains, right? She just wants what's best for us." And I agreed. At first, because I wanted peace. Then, because I wasn't confident in myself. And later, because I felt that if I disagreed, I'd become the problem. And I didn't want to be the problem. I wanted to be his choice. But was I ever? For our first anniversary, I planned a surprise. I booked a small riverside restaurant on the Thames. Arranged a private boat. Wore the dress he once complimented. I wanted to make the evening unforgettable. 3 days before the date, he said. "Mom invited us over. She's making her famous turkey. We can reschedule the restaurant, right?" I said nothing. Inside, I screamed. But on the outside, I smiled and said, "Of course." We went to Mary's. Everything was perfect. Except my heart, which was slowly charring. Tom didn't even mention our anniversary. And she said, "I remember celebrating 10 years with his father." That was love. Not like young people now. So fragile. Everything bothers them. I sat at that table and couldn't breathe. I realized she wasn't just his mom. She was the owner of his life. His body. His memories. His present. And me? I was a guest. A tenant in a system she had spent years building. One night, I asked, "Do you see me? As a person? Or just an adaptation of your mom's template?" He didn't understand. He really didn't. And that's when I first thought, maybe I'm not in a relationship. Maybe I'm just playing a role. A role I never wrote. Every woman has a point where she stops smiling out of politeness. Stops saying, "I'm fine," when there's a storm inside. Mine arrived over dinner. On a Saturday. It started with something small. A tablecloth. I bought a new one, warm, bold, with a floral pattern. I wanted the home to feel alive. To breathe color. I was cooking dinner. It mattered. One of those rare evenings where it was just us. No advice. No commentary. "No," Mom said. But the second he walked into the kitchen, he said. Mom messaged. Said bright tablecloths are tacky. She thinks we should use the white one from last year. Silence. Something inside me dropped. Like someone had blown out the candle I'd been guarding for months. I slowly took off my apron. Looked at him. Deeply. Calmly. But with a shadow in my voice I'd always hidden. "Tom, are you even here? Or are you just her translator in our home? Have you ever had a thought that didn't go through her filter first?" He froze. Then started defending himself. Said I was overreacting. That I was being aggressive again. That his mom just gives advice, and I take everything too personally. And then. I didn't hold back. "Because you let her into our bed, even if she's not there physically." He stopped. His eyes, filled with fear. Not for me. Not for himself. But for the structure he lived inside. I didn't cry. It was worse. I was calm. Too calm. "You want to be a good son. I want to be with a man, not a little boy." We didn't eat dinner that night. He left the house. Texted his mom. And I sat there, alone. With my vibrant tablecloth, like a flag of my final attempt. And I knew. This wasn't a fight. It was a fracture. He came back the next morning. No flowers. No apologies. Just a look in his eyes like someone who woke up in the wrong city. He didn't know where to start. So he didn't. I made tea. For myself. Didn't ask if he wanted any. The house was quiet, like a church after betrayal. Then he said. "I talked to my mom." I wasn't surprised. That was expected. But what came next, wasn't. "She feels like you're pulling me away from my family. That there's a wall growing between us. She says you're trying to control me." I laughed. Not loudly. The kind of laugh that comes when something snaps inside your chest. "Control you?" I repeated. "I just wanted you to learn how to decide on your own." He sat down. Lowered his head. Said nothing. Then quietly. "I don't want to lose you. But I can't go against my mom. It feels wrong." That was it. I waited for him to realize what he just said. To look up. To say, "That's not what I meant." But he didn't. He just sat there. Silent. And in that silence, I felt more alone than I ever had. Tom, I whispered. You're not choosing me. You're choosing what's easier, for her. He didn't deny it. Didn't call me back. Just looked at me, with sadness, with pity, but not with love. And you know what? It was a relief. Because finally, everything was clear. There's no, both you and Mom, when one of us keeps writing all the rules. That night, I started packing my things. No tears. No rage. Just, the end of waiting. An hour later, I got a message. From Mary. I knew you wouldn't last. American girls never make it through the long game. I didn't respond. I just put my phone down, opened the window, and breathed in London. Mine. Without him. Without her. Without the script. The first few days without him were numb. Not painful. Not tearful. Just quiet. Like someone had turned the world's volume down. I woke up and didn't hear his cup clinking in the kitchen. Didn't smell coffee. Didn't see the silly notes he used to leave on the mirror. You're the best thing that's happened to my tea. I didn't cry. But I didn't laugh either. I walked through London like a ghost. The city I'd moved here for felt colorless. Until one day, I sat in my favorite cafe by the bridge and saw my reflection in the window. No him. No presence of her. Just a woman. And for the first time in a long while, I saw me. The next day, he texted. I miss you. You should know, I can't sleep. I'm thinking a lot. Mom says I did the right thing, but I'm not sure. It feels like I left part of myself with you. I read that message 5 times. And didn't respond. Because the old me would have replied right away. Because love is about forgiveness, right? But now I knew. I didn't want to forgive just because someone was confused. I wanted to be chosen. Fully. Not when Mom says it's okay. On the 4th day, he came to my door. He stood there. With flowers. My favorite, the ones I mentioned once in passing. And I stepped out. Not for him. For me. I've thought it through, he said. I won't let her interfere anymore. I choose you. I want to be a man. But you know. Even as he said it, he looked at me like he was waiting for my approval. Waiting for a smile. Instead of standing in it with conviction. I looked at him, and I didn't recognize him anymore. Because a real man doesn't come after permission. He comes when he's ready to stand, even if it's hard. You say you're choosing me, I said. But I no longer want to be someone who gets picked after someone else. I turned around. Closed the door. And for the first time, didn't want to look back. I think real healing doesn't come when you cry into your pillow. It comes when you wake up on a Sunday, and don't think of him. When your coffee tastes good, even without the good morning text. When you buy a new dress, not for someone to notice, but because it makes your shoulders look powerful. London suddenly felt lighter. People, brighter. And me, not like the girl who ran away, but like the woman who finally came home. The first week after saying goodbye to Tom, I was silent. But by the second, I started laughing. Not loud. First at myself. Then at how scared I was, to be alone. Now. I am alone. And I am, good. In my home, my tablecloth. My flowers. My schedule. No one says a woman should save her energy for the household. And if something whispers in the room, it's not a voice from a phone, it's mine. One evening I found an old letter. Something I wrote back in the States, before I moved. I'm leaving for love. For a new beginning. For myself. And I thought. I did find love. Just not where I thought I would. Not in him. I found it here. In this kitchen, where I sing in my robe. In this room, where I no longer shrink myself. In this woman, who no longer asks for permission. Because the biggest truth after all of it is that I can be whole without us. And you know, if he ever knocks again, I won't open the door with hope. I'll open it with respect for myself. And I'll say, now I know my worth. And I'm not someone's second choice. 2 months after I left, I got a letter. Not an email. A real one. Envelope. Handwritten. His handwriting. I didn't open it at first. It smelled familiar, like a page from a book I hadn't touched in years. And when I finally did, my heart didn't race. It simply tightened, quietly. I realized everything when you were gone. I don't ask my mom anymore. But maybe that doesn't matter now. Because you're no longer the same woman. And I might still be the same man. I'm sorry I didn't learn how to be one, when there was someone to be that for. I just want you to know, you were my awakening. And maybe this is too late. But still, thank you. I read it 3 times. And didn't cry. Because I had nothing left to lose. Tom wasn't the villain. He was a chapter. A reminder of how easy it is to lose yourself in someone else's comfort zone. But I won't lose myself again. And the strange magic? I'm not soaring into some cinematic new love. I'm not standing in London fog, waiting for someone to hold my hand. I'm just walking. Down the street where we once laughed. In a coat I bought for myself. With a smile I don't need anyone to explain. Because real happiness is being in the frame alone. And not as a background character. And maybe, someday, someone will touch my heart again. But this time, I'll ask. Are you here because you chose me? Or because someone told you it's time? And if the answer is the first, maybe, just maybe, I'll let them in. But for now, I'm not waiting. I'm living.